Okay, then let's start. Uh, so last day we have started about classes. Okay, so I will just again quickly recap what we have discussed in the last class, and then I will go towards discussing about constructor, which is one of the important thing about the class, and then we will see some of the questions also, and we will also discuss about something like how uh, how the signature of the constructor is matched. Okay, so someone please take a note, so this is not in the slide, so if I miss, just remind me. Okay, so if you remember that we discussed about uh, that class is a type of variable, right? It is a template. Okay, and if I want to create my own variable type, right, based on the problem that I'm working with. So if I am working with library system, right, and I am dealing with student accounts, then they will have a variable like number of books that are already issued, right? He will have methods like issue book, deposit book, right? Give library fees and so on and so forth. Okay, the most important thing that is different with a function oriented concept is that you have something like data and code together. Okay, and as you know, you what how do you represent a class, right? So you represent this by a rectangle like this, right? And what do? You actually mention the class name over here, okay, in the first rectangle. And then what you do? You actually represent the name of the variables here, and then you mention the name of the methods, right? So as you know, you put this in kind of a box, which can be also thought as a capsule. So putting this data and code together, you call this as an encapsulation, right? And so these are used for creation of objects. So initially when people are first looking at uh, the concepts of object oriented programming, a lot of people have difficulty understanding the difference between class and object. I don't think that will be case for you, but anyway, you always remember that class is the type, right? And variables or objects are the instances, right? Akin to what you have seen, that data type. So when you say integer a, right, so integer is your type and a is the name of the variable or the instance, right? So same thing, even in class and object. And so class will have uh, a set of plans. So these plans are actually, as I said, that use of uh, like issuing of books or depositing of books. So these are the things that a student can do. So these are the set of plans, and these are implemented through your methods, right? And what I always encourage you to do is that do some more exercises, right? Pick up any particular thing. Okay, and so it is often said when you look in your books that accounts are or your objects are, or the classes are always real life objects, right? Just 1 minute, someone else is trying to get in. Yeah, okay. uh, so uh, now when we are talking about let's say a bank account, right? So what are the different things that a bank account will have? What are the properties? The properties are maybe its account number, right? Properties are maybe the type of the account, whether it is a savings account or it is a savings account or a current account, or the account balance it has got, right? So all these things, and nowadays you might have the debit card information attached, right? So his internet banking user id and password, so all these things, right, will be its code. And what are the methods? So what he can do? So he can log in, right? So he can log in, he can do atm transactions, right? He can deposit money, he can withdraw money, he can create a draft, right? He can request checkbook, So these are different type of things that that are attached with the code. So these are the set of plans that we are talking about, right? So similarly you can think of some other account also, right? So let's say you are going to healthcare, and you are creating something for a patient or maybe a doctor, right? So the doctor maybe so this you may be creating for private clinic. So you are creating for private clinic, so maybe your the doctor's name, his registration number, and all these things, right? His degrees, right? His visiting time, so where all he sits and what are the different visiting time. So all these will be the properties of the doctor. And then what are some of the methods of the doctor, right? So the methods will be that he can treat patients, right? He can treat patients, he can recommend for some tests, he can give prescription, he can actually he can take money from the patient, and so on and so forth, right? Or he can do some routine checks, right? Blood pressure check, and uh, other things, like he uses with his stethoscope and all. So all these things actually are the methods, right? So you have to differentiate the object from the behavior. Okay. Now as we already said that class is a logical abstraction. Okay. And it doesn't have any physical existence. It doesn't have a physical existence unless you actually have created an object out of it. Okay. And this was the definition that we have looked at earlier. So you will have a class name defined over here, so you'll have to use this keyword class. Okay. And then you use the type and the name of the variable, and so on and so forth. And then you have the methods. Okay. uh, so this is your typical structure. And then we are looking at this example of vehicle. Okay. And we discussed that let's say the vehicle has these particular states or variables, right, which are number of passengers traveling in the vehicle, right? The fuel capacity and the mileage in miles per gallon. Okay. And then we said, or we showed that how a object is being created. So here the most important thing is this new keyword, right? So this is something we have not seen earlier. And in fact, if you just do like this vehicle minivan, okay, and you don't have this statement, then what happens? Then actually the variable is declared, but no memory is allocated corresponding to the object, right? The object is not created. Okay. uh, so this is one of the major differences. Okay. And how you can access these particular variables? So you can access like using your dot notation. Okay. uh, so the name of the class, right? Or sorry, the name of the object, then you give a dot and the name of the variable, right? So this is how you can access it. And today we are going to go into more details, going to go into more details of this new operator. Okay. And this is an example where we have shown that how this particular class is going to be utilized by the main method. Okay. So this is something I told you that uh, this is the way writing of the code in this way is what I prefer, that you have defined a class first and then you have another class. So this is your actual class, and this you can call as your driver class, or calling class or something like that, where you are actually creating the instance of the class or creating the objects, right? So and we also discussed that what will be the name of the file in this case. The name of the file will be vehicle demo.java, right? So please remember this. So wherever you have the main method, whichever class you have the main method, that will be name of your file. Okay. Because that will be a starting point. And later on you will see that we are using words like public, static, void, and main. So you know about void for sure. when you have when you have studied your C, that it doesn't return anything. You also have studied about static, but static had somewhat different connotation when it comes to Java, because it is an object oriented language. And public actually defines that, like how much visible your code is, okay, or who all actually can see this code. Okay, so at this point it will be enough for you to know that this public static void main is the entry point to your program. And as so we have so please understand this thing very carefully, that anytime when you are trying to use some code in Java, okay, so you will have to use it through some class. Okay, so let me repeat this again. So anytime you are trying to use some code in Java, you will have to use it through some class. Okay, and if it is a static method, okay, again we'll go into discussion of static and some time. But if it is a static method, then what happens is that you do not need to create an instance of the object, and you can call the method, like here it is happening in main, or even in the system.out.println. See, I have not created, so I am calling this method println, right? So println is a you can understand that println is a method, right? But we have not created any object, we are directly calling this method println, so which will tell you that this is a static method. So static method means that you do not need to create an object. However, here, if you look at if you would have created some function over here, right, and that function you needed to call, then you had to call through this minivan instance that we have created. Okay. Anyway, so here it is the main important point is that how the vehicle is being initiated in the entire flow of the program. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now let's go ahead and look at some of the property of the classes. So even last day we were talking about that I think you have read about database already. Have you guys read about database already? Hello. You yes, so you remember okay, okay, so you remember one of the concepts of normalization. So normalization has different type of rules, but one of the things is that if you just follow common sense and you create a table for the entities, right? So entities are similar to objects that we are reading over here, right? So then you don't have lot of anomalies, like, right? So if you create a table which stores the employee as well as the department, then lot of cases we are seeing that there was an anomaly. Like if I give you an example, that let's say you have a department which doesn't have an employee yet, so it's a new department. So how do you store that kind of data, right? So that was kind of insert anomaly. And similarly there can be an employee for which you do not have a department allocated so far, so that also is a problem. Okay, and so if you just follow common sense and create if you different tables for employee and department, this problem is solved. You don't really need to know at the formal rules of the normalization and resolve it. So same thing applies for your classes also. Okay, so when you are defining a class, that class should be a logical unit. Okay, that logical unit which performs coherent tasks. Coherent means that they are related to each other. Okay, so if I am thinking of employee and department, or maybe student and teacher, if I create a single class for that, you can understand that that will not be a very good thing to happen, right? So your class should not be large, right? It should not have extra code. Okay, and it should not be so small that it doesn't have the core functionality of a class. Okay, so you have to balance this. So this is the art of programming. You have to manage that your class is not very small, it contains the bare minimum operation that the class needs to support. Okay, and then you have proper name and all, right? So these are some of the things that you need to keep in mind. Now let's look at uh, look at constructor. So again, I am sure you know about constructor, but we'll nevertheless do a revision of the same. So in our last example that we saw, we were seeing that we have done an assignment like this. Okay, and we don't in your object oriented paradigm, we don't do assignment like this, right? We don't assign like variables like this, initialize variables like this, right? So actually a constructor initializes an object when it is created. Okay, and it has the same name as its class. So if the class name is vehicle, the constructor name is also going to be vehicle. If the class name is person, the constructor name is also going to be person. And it is syntactically similar to a method. Okay, so this is also one of the thing that needs to be understood. So it is also a code block. It is enclosed within these curly braces, right? And it is syntactically similar to a method. So why we are saying it is similar to a method? Because there is quite a bit of technical argument on telling that constructor is not a method. Okay, so follow this point, right? So constructor is also a member of the class, but please understand that this is not a method. Okay, all right. And so all classes have constructor. Okay, so whether you define one or not, because Java automatically provides a default constructor. So this is also very, very interesting, right? So basically, when this constructor is invoked, when this constructor is called, when you are defining the object and you are creating the object using the keyword new. Okay, let me repeat. When is your constructor getting called? When you are creating a new object using this keyword new that we have just seen, and we will discuss in more detail subsequently, your constructor is called. But in the class definition, if you go back here, in the class definition, we are using this, you see that we are using this keyword new, right? Okay, however, there is no thing like a constructor here, right? There is no code block which has the name of vehicle and everything. So what is happening? What is happening is that Java actually has a default constructor. And how this default constructor is coming? So it turns out that the mother object, okay, of this all these classes that we are creating is comes from something like java.lang.object, and that has a default constructor. Okay, and as you know, one of the principal properties of Java is inheritance, or object oriented programming is inheritance, right? Which will again study in details in later classes. But it essentially tells that if you have a class which you call it as a parent class, some of the properties of the parent class through inheritance is achieved or is obtained, procured by the child classes. So as all the child classes come from the object class, and object class as a constructor, which is a code block, which is a member of the class and has same name as your class name. Okay, you don't need to define your own constructor in the class, right? And here, when if you have not initialized any members, right, so they will have default values. Okay, so which are 0, null and false for numeric types, reference type, and booleans. So this is also one of the important questions that you will often face in interviews, that or in your tests, that you will be given a class and you will be given some variables. So you'll be asked that what are the, if you print the values, right? If you create an object and print the values, what will be the different values? And the values will, these will be initialized actually. So if it is a numeric type, it will be 0. If it is a reference type, it will be null. If it is a Boolean type, it will be false, right? And how this will happen? Because these all things are done in the default constructor. Okay. And once you define your own constructor, the default constructor is actually suppressed. Okay. So, it is no longer used. So these also we will study in more details. Okay, now let's look at the example of the constructor. Okay, so you see that you have a class named as my class, which has a variable called as x, and just 1 minute, I'm admitting one of the students. Okay, and then you have a code block. See, the name is same, right? So it is my class over here, right? Same thing is being used here, my class, right? And what you are doing is you are accessing this variable x. And so this is also one of the thing, please understand that these classes, so whatever variables you are using over here, right? So these variables can be accessed, okay? These variables can be accessed by the members of the classes. So, if you have a method that can access, and the constructor can also access, okay? And now see what is happening, that we are creating two objects, T1 and T2, okay? And you are then printing T1.x plus T2.x, right? So can you tell me what will be the value of this? What will be printed? Absolutely. It will print 1010. And also tell me someone else that if I have not used this constructor, right? This was not there, then what value would have been printed? The 10 point something. If the constructor was not there, the default value. What is the default value? 0 0. Yes, 0 0. So please, all of you, please understand, and if you have any doubts, so let me just give you 1 or 2 minutes to think about whatever we have covered, and if you have any question, please ask me, and then I will proceed. So I hope it is clear to you. So let me proceed. Yes, yes. Yes. Okay. So his question is that how the default constructors are inherited. So this will be, as I said, will be more clear when we read about inheritance. So basically, what happens is that you can have a class like this, right? And then this can be inherited by another class. Okay. So if I create this as a child of this class, and it turns out that all objects that we are creating by default are actually inherited from java.lang.object. So this actually has something called as a constructor, okay? And as this is a child of this, so like a child inherits from his parent, right? So it can also access this constructor from its parent. Okay, so you don't, even if you don't define your own constructor, by virtue of its being a child of the parent class object, you have a constructor. But don't worry, this we will, when we will look at method overloading, right? Or not method overloading, sorry, when we look at inheritance, method overloading, method overriding, these things will be much more clear to you. Okay, now what you have seen so far is actually constructor without a parameter, and now what we are going to use is we are going to use uh, a parameter with the constructor. So you have a variable x, okay, and this takes a parameter I, and you assign actually x equal to y. So now what you want to do is you actually are giving user the flexibility. So earlier what was happening? Earlier it was happening that the variable was being initialized at 10, right? So the user doesn't have a choice. Okay. So let's say, you know, let's go to the same account example, right? So some customers will start with a maybe 1,000, depositing 1,000 rupees. Some customer may start by depositing 5,000 or 10,000 rupees, right? So if I have a constructor where I have a default value of 1,000, that will not work because different customer will start with different amount of balance in the account. So then you need to put a parameter in the constructor, right? So what will be the starting value? And this is what is happening. And now see this definition very carefully. So you are not using any more new my class and then parenthesis, but you are giving it a value 10. And for those who have, you know, looked at object oriented earlier, right? So this may be very trivial, but for others, you know, this is very, what I would say, this is very phenomenal, because nowhere actually we are talking about talking about this constructor method. So basically when I am doing this my class 10, you know, this is actually getting executed. Whenever I am using this method new, this is what is getting executed. Okay. And now T1 will have a value of 10 and T2 will have a value of 88. So another thing that I want to mention over here is that though, you know, we will read about method overloading later on, but let me at least tell you this, that see, now you can have different constructors. So you can have one constructor with no argument, okay, which is also called as no arg constructor, and you can have a constructor with one variable, like in this case, or I can have a parameter with two variables, right? So essentially what is happening is I have I have code blocks, if I call it as code blocks, right? And they have same names, right? So when this happens, we call it as constructor overloading. Okay. All right. So, you know, this is an example of constructor for the vehicle class, right? So we have three variables: integer p, integer f, and integer m, right? P, I think, was passenger, number of passenger, f was fuel capacity, and m was miles per gallon. And now, whatever the user wants to start with for his specific car, he can initialize his vehicle like that, right? So I can do like this. I can initialize a minivan, right? So which is expected to have a lot of passengers, right? Lot of passengers, and the miles per gallon can also be more. And I can create a sports car instance, which has, of course, you know, two people can sit on it, and you know, you have corresponding fuel capacity and miles per gallon, right? Okay. So now let's look at the new operator or new keyword in more detail. So, you know, this is how generally it is represented. Okay, more generally. Okay. uh, so basically, you know, you have your name of the class, right? And then this is the type of the class, and what is the arg list. So if you have, so this is actually optional. So if you have a constructor which takes parameter, then you will have to specify something in the arg list. Is it clear? So when you are creating like this, then the default constructor is called, right? And it creates a reference to the newly created object. Okay. uh, so actually, you know, when you are giving a name like minivan is actually a reference. So why I call it as a reference? So what happens is, you know, so you have this class definition, right? And when actually you are using this new keyword, then in your memory, right, then your RAM, an instance is getting created. Okay, a space is getting allocated for minivan, and this is so there is a pointer to it. Okay, so this pointer is your minivan. So that's why you are calling it as a reference. Okay, so this actually refers to the object. Okay, and if memory is not available, you will not be able to create objects, right? So memory is finite. So if you don't have memory available, it will give you some runtime exception. Okay, and then you can be really afraid that so what happens if my memory is not created? And please understand that Java do not have something called as destructor. Okay, so let me repeat this again. So whoever has uh, looked at C++, you know that there is something called as destructor, but Java do not have something like destructor. And what is the objective of a destructor? So it is just the opposite of constructor. So like constructor creates the object, destructor's philosophy is that when the object is no longer used, you should dispose the object, right? You should eliminate the object. So that's the objective. So now, of course, a question that can come to your mind is that how then, how then this happens in Java? So it can happen that I am going on creating a lot of objects, right? And those objects are taking, taking space in the memory. Okay, and there can be, of course, a situation when I'm trying to create an object and I don't have space there, right? So that is very much possible, isn't it? So what Java has here is called as garbage collection. Okay, so anytime again when you are being asked about Java's advantages, do not forget to tell about this functionality called as garbage collection, which is also called as automatic memory management. Okay, so what happens is that Java has a process. I am not going into lot of details, but I'm just trying to give you an overall idea. So Java has a process, right, which is a background process. Okay, so this background process you may have heard about them in Unix, which when you call them as daemons, right? So they are always in a listening mode. They're always listening. They're always watching what is going on. So what this does is periodically it will check that which objects are there in the memory and if the objects are being accessed by certain class or not. Okay, so if it finds out that there is an object which is not being accessed by anyone, any program, right? So what it will do is it will actually free up that memory. What it will do, it will free up the memory. Okay, so this is why it is called as automatic memory management, and there is an algorithm called as mark and sweep algorithm. Okay, so sweep, right? Sweep just tells you that like jhadu dewa na. So mark and sweep means that actually you are marking which objects are being referenced, right? So which, or rather which objects are not being referenced. So if a object is not being referenced, then it can be swept. Okay, and this process is non-deterministic. Okay, so when you will study more about, I don't know if you already know about non-deterministic, then it is great, right? But if you don't know, if you don't have used it, so basically non-deterministic means that there is some amount of randomness, some amount of probability, some amount of stochasticness. Okay, so let's say you are creating a random number. So though random number you cannot create, you can only create pseudo random numbers, but you can have different values, right? So the value Amrit will generate, right? So Akash will not get the same value if they are using a pseudo random generator. Okay, and and based on that, if you do some mathematical calculation, right, some addition, some subtraction, some multiplication, the result that they will get, both of them will get, will be different, right? So if it is a non-deterministic algorithm, you can have different outputs of the same thing, okay, of the same code, okay. So here why we are saying it is non-deterministic is because when this method will be called, we do not know, okay. So this is called non-deterministically. So even if an object is there in the memory, we cannot ascertain and tell, that what time, what time it will be collected, or like the garbage will be collected. So this is also called as garbage collection. So whatever we talked about, mark and sweep, okay. So akin to sweeping, right? So what you sweep, the garbage you sweep, right? Okay. So I think I could give you some idea. And now here is a question that I have taken from again Harvard and Sid, that why don't I need to use this new for variables of the primitive types, right? Such as integer and float. So all the class variables, so these also I think we have discussed briefly. So Java's primitive types are actually not implemented as objects, okay? Though there are wrappers around it, right? So you can actually create them as objects, but then we don't typically do it, okay. So because of efficiency concern, right? So they are implemented as normal variables, okay. So actually when you create a reference to it, then through the reference you actually access it. So what happens is that it actually adds a layer of indirection, okay. So this is the technical term that you should use when you should explain this particular concept, that there is a layer of indirection. So you go through, it is not direct, it is indirect, because you go through the reference variable. Are you getting me, right? So that adds to the overhead. And you actually when you if you look at how you actually describe the computing capacity of machines, you look at how many float operations it can do in per second, right? How many floating point operations it can do, how many flops, so that is called as flops, okay. So it is very important that this integer and float operations happen very, very quickly, okay, because that actually determines how fast your computer is. So it is not a very good idea to add a layer of indirection, and go through that, right? Okay. So I have a question now for you. Okay. Look at this and please answer this question. Try to answer this question. And also, if you have any like question on the previous slides, you can ask me. So who is going to answer? Akash? So will you please try? Now others also pay attention. Let me go back to the screen. Okay. Let me get some more answers.
Sir,
You think? Jeevan, your voice is breaking. And let me ask someone else also. So, Sudeshna, are you able to follow what is happening? Yeah, Jivan has mentioned the answer to be C. Okay, in chat. Yes, yes, Akash.
Sir, I think option A.
You
Sir,
think?
A.
Mm, okay.
Sir,
Option Amrit is saying option C. Yeah. So, like, let's look at this. Yes. Mhm. And this is possible because it is static. So I told you, right, that you could have. So a lot of people actually writes code in this manner also. If you have seen, so they will create a class, give its name like codes and methods, and then within main method they will instantiate it. Okay, so this is also one of the coding styles, but as I said, I don't like it that much. Okay, so let's go one by one. Okay, and see what is happening. All right, so if I look at this particular line, a compilation error will occur at 1 since constructor cannot specify a return value. So constructor cannot specify a return value, that is true, but this is something very interesting. Okay, so what will happen is that this will not be considered as a constructor, but it will consider it as a method. Let me repeat it again. So what is told to you that constructor cannot have a return type. So the rule will be followed. This will not have a return type, but this will be now considered as a method instead of a constructor. So now what will happen now is it clear to you? So basically, now this is not a constructor. You will come here. There is no problem with this because you already have a default constructor, right? So this is fine, but then when I go and say new my class is 5, I don't have a constructor which has this variable. Okay, which takes one integer as an argument, right? So I will get an error. I don't know why so many. Yeah, so I will get an error. Okay, so the option will be C. I think some of you already said C, right? So let me ask from someone else that if you have understood this correctly. So Arpon, can you explain me why it is option C? Surabhi, Arpon, you guys are there? Okay, not getting any response. Shudip, can you explain? Yes, please tell me. Yes, Shudip, I can hear you. তুমি যেটা কমফোর্টেবল।
এখানে যে মাই ক্লাস এটাকেও স্যার আপনি বললেন কনস্ট্রাক্টর নয়, এটা মেথড।
কারেক্ট।
আর হ্যাঁ, যেহেতু এটা মেথড তাই জন্য এখানে যখন ওই আমরা এখানে নাম্বার 3 তে মানে নিউ ক্লাস ইকুয়াল টু নিউ মাই ক্লাস আর্গুমেন্ট মানে 5 আর
Yes, so basically it is becoming a construct becoming a method, not a constructor. And as I don't have a constructor with one parameter, which is an integer, it will not get that constructor and I will get an error. Okay. So initially, all of you please speak up first, right? Whatever language is possible, but slowly we all have to graduate towards English, because wherever you will go in your interview or in your company, many people will not know your language. Okay. All right. I don't know what's happening. Yeah. So look at this one, and can you tell me, what will happen over here? This is relatively easy. So you have a class AB, you have a constructor. This doesn't have a return type, so this is a valid constructor. And then you have a public class main, and then here you are instantiating the class. Okay, so you are creating you are instantiating an object called as AB. Okay, which is of the type class AB. Okay, so what will happen?
So print 0.
Will print 0. Okay,
So there is a garbage value.
there will be garbage value. Okay, any other answer?
The default constructor will have. So print 0.
Print 0. Okay. So actually we have discussed about some of the properties of the constructor. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back what we discussed. Okay, see here. Once, do you see the last point? Once you define your own constructor, the default constructor is no longer used. Okay. So then what will happen? This will actually give you a compilation error, because as soon as you have created a constructor with a variable, the default constructor is not going to be used. So it is going to, when you will do new AB, what will do? It will go here and search for the default constructor, which is also called as the no arg constructor, which is not there, right? So it will give you a compilation error. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So now let's look at one use of this keyword. So, typically, let's say I am creating a class, which will create the power of a integer. Okay. So if I give it a value like let's say 2 to the power 5, it will return 32. So that is what I am trying to create a class for. So naturally it will need three variables. One is which is actually your the term that your number, and another is your exponent, right? So basically this 2 will be stored in E and this 5 will be stored in B. Okay, or no, or the other way around. So it is the base. So you can actually do a 2.5 to the power 2. Okay, so the base can be a double, and the exponent is an integer. Okay, and you will return the result in val. So what you are doing, so this is a constructor, you see, because you need to give the value of base and exp, and then here is the loop calculation where you actually multiply this base as many times as the exp, right? So if it is like if exp is 5, so it will be b into b into b into b into b 5 times. Are you getting me? So that is what is happening, but that is not important. So that is not what we are focusing on. And then you have something like double get power. Okay, so this actually will return the value. Okay, and what you can also do is that when you are doing, please understand this thing very carefully. While you are doing this, right, while you are doing this, assigning this B and E, somehow it is implicitly understanding that these are Okay, so this actually belongs to the instance on which we are operating on. So whatever object has been created, right? So that objects, that objects B and E are being accessed. Okay, so this is implicit, and you can actually alternatively write like this dot B, this dot E, this dot val. So here this means the current instance on which you are working on. Is it clear? Now your question can be that is it required over here? So generally you don't do like this, but some cases when you are using the same variables in the function name as well as the class name, okay, something like this. So the if you see that the class also has variables B and E, okay, and then you have here the parameters also as B and E. So in this local instance, these B and E, so if you talk just about B and E, what will happen is that this B and E will be taken as, right? So this B and E, because this will override or this will supersede the definition in the local scope. So if I want to here, refer to the class variables, right? So the variables that are in the class, then what I need to do is I need to refer it as this dot B and this dot E. Okay, so this is where you have the use of this keyword. Okay, so now I have some more questions, maybe 2 or 3, and then I will stop with the constructor resolution example that I was talking about. So take a look and tell me what is the answer. And I want to hear from someone who has not answered as yet. So Nobonita, can you try to answer?
Yes, sir, I'm trying.
And whatever we are discussing now is very, very fundamental. So I'm not going into very complicated topics. Okay, and I'm always reachable. So please, if you don't get anywhere, please feel free to get in touch with me. You can mail me, you can WhatsApp me. Maybe I cannot respond immediately, but I will of course respond. Be rest assured, I will respond. So it is your responsibility that you are actually understanding. So we have seen that we are going through chapters of Hubbard C, right? So it has a lot of things, and I am just picking the important parts and discussing over here. Okay, so please do not miss understanding anything. Okay, okay, so what will happen here, the value will be, so what is the confusion? It can be there is not going to be any compilation error. I am sure all of you have understood that, isn't it? Yes, but the confusion is between 20 and 0. So actually the value will be 20. The assignment that is happening will supersede the default constructor. Okay, now let's look at so the value will be 20. So let's look at another example. So now you have a constructor, and the constructor has a value of t equal to 40. But here, as you have created your own constructor and doing some initialization, it is not your default constructor, right? Your 40 will supersede the value of 20. So here when you print, the value will be 20. Okay, is it clear?
Sir, sir, sir.
Sir, sir, please repeat.
Yes, yes. So what I'm saying is that earlier what was happening in this case, the default constructor that is in the object class that was getting, that was getting created. And if I don't have this value, so please understand this. If I don't have this assignment, this one, integer t equal to 20, then the value would have been 0. If I would have used this t1 dot t. Okay. If I have not used this assignment, I have just had integer t. Okay. Now, as I have this assignment, so the default constructor put the value of 0 and then this assignment is done. But when you have your own constructor, then this value is supersede. Your default value, whatever is there in your constructor, t equal to 40, so that is what it will it will be initialized with, because now you have defined your own constructor. It is not your default constructor. Okay.
Sir, here what is the output, sir? 40 or 20, sir? I think
So output will be 40.
yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
In the previous case, sir, it will be 20, sir.
Previous case it will be 20.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here is another example. Okay. And here can you tell me what will be the value that will be printed?
Sir, 10, sir. 10.
Excellent. Why 10? Can you explain?
Sir.
Yes. Please tell me.
In this case, sir, I will call, sir, only one value, mx. Only this value is I call, but my are not calling. So yes, sir, output will be 10, sir. But if I, sir, another call get y, sir, then again, sir, output will be 10, sir.
Yeah. So rather than explaining like that, what is happening over here is, see, here you have you are creating this, right? You are having this new point. Okay. So this is what is getting uh, instantiated by. So what will be called? It will go to this constructor, right? It will go to this constructor, and this constructor actually calls this constructor in turn. So when it does this 10 10, so this is going to be called. So this is the trick. This is what you have to pay attention to. And then as you are giving it a value of 10 10, so mx and my will have value 10 10. So when now you are doing a p dot get x, naturally 10 will be printed. So this actually tells you that how a constructor can call another constructor. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, this is an example how a constructor can call another constructor, and this phenomena is called as constructor chaining. Okay, and this cannot have this is not necessary that constructor chaining will be in single class. It can be across multiple classes. Okay. So this is probably our last question. So please go through this and tell me what will be the answer. maybe this is little bit difficult for you.
Sir.
Yes, yes,
I think sir A, sir.
yes. So very good.
Option A, sir.
Very good. So option A. Now let's look at why this is option A. Okay. So what we are doing is we are first creating. So you have already looked at this class. Don't worry about this final keyword right now. Don't worry. Ignore it. Okay. And what we are doing is we have simply created some variables, right? We have created some variables and methods, and this is for creating a complex number. You have already looked understood it. It has a real part and an imaginary part. Okay. So initially when we are doing a complex C1, new complex 10, 15, what is happening? This constructor is getting called, right? Now, this is created, no problem. Then what we are doing is we are creating another object C2 with C1 as a reference. So it will come to here, right? This constructor will be created, and as a result, first thing what is going to happen is it is going to create this, right? And whatever value this complex number had, this will be assigned to this particular complex number. So basically C1 and C2 will have same value corresponding to your real and imaginary number, and then we are assigning, we are passing the reference of C1 to C3. Okay. And finally, when we are doing a system.out.println, so this is also something very, very critical. So you have to understand, when this println is called, then actually this C2.to string is going to be called. This also actually, whenever you are calling the object by its name, there is a toString method again in the object class. And what you are doing over here is you have actually defined your own toString where you are going to print the real part and the imaginary part with I being concatenated. So that's why you are getting this 10.0 plus 15.0 I. Okay. Okay. So last question, okay, for you guys. So let's say there is a class. So I'm not going to the entire definition, and the name of the class is, let's say, A, and it has a so this we'll discuss later also. So let's say this has a constructor like this, a int n, and then you have something like a int a float b. Okay. And let's say you have another constructor. So a lot of overloading is happening, right? You have a float a and float b. Now tell me that, let's say I am creating an object. Okay, I am creating an object of class A. So I have said that A1 equal to new A, okay, new A, and I have given two integer values 10, 20. Can you tell me what will happen? Is the question clear? So the name of the class is A, okay, and it has these three constructors. These are the signature of the constructor. So one takes an integer, another takes an integer and a float, and another you have one float, two floats rather. Okay. And now
Sir, error, sir.
it will give error. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? No, it is not 20.0. It is 1020. Excellent. You are absolutely right. Very good. So basically we talked about that automatic typecasting and type conversion, right? So please remember that throughout your Java lecture, that what is happening is that this is, if you know, if I didn't have this, if I am trying to put a float, so if I was trying to create a new a with 25.0 or 25.5, then that would have been a problem, because I don't have anything for this. Okay, but if I have something where the destination type is larger, here float is larger, right? So automatically that version will be picked up. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. To integer value. If sir, sir,
Yes, please. Yes, yes, tell me.
yes, sir. I'm saying, sir, if it is possible, sir, int a and int, I think, sir, int, sorry, the float a,
Hmm.
and one class called a, bracket, float a, float b. What do
Mhm.
you say, sir? If, sir, this class is not clear, int a and int float b, what will be, sir, to call, sir, this time?
So these, first of all, these are not class, these are constructors. And what is,
Yes, sir.
yes, so first of all, yeah, so you don't need this actually. This is not being called. What is being called is this one, because you have this is matching, right? Integer definition is matching here. Integer matching. Next variable, it is seeing that, okay, if these are compatible, so it is seeing that they are compatible, and the source type is lesser than the destination type. So here you are passing an integer and destination is a float, so this is fine. Okay, 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 sure. Then let me stop here, and if you have any further